Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was bound to happen eventually. My PID controller has been rendered obsolete by two simple components. How? Through the black magic of the regex component and a little thing called a bang bang controller. Here's how it works. The temperature controller checks the current reactor temperature and determines if it's above or below 4,000 degrees. If it's above, it turns the entire thing off. If it's below, it turns it on at full power. Because this cycle is happening hundreds of times per second, a single component is all that's necessary to keep your reactor temperature at 4,000 degrees. Similarly, the turbine controller checks to see if the output power is above or below the demand. If it's above, it turns the whole thing off. If it's below, it turns it on at max power again. Again, because this is happening hundreds of times per second, a single component is all that's necessary to make sure that the reactor output precisely follows the system demand. Constructing the system is easy. You'll need a greater than component, a regex component, and 5 wires. The color doesn't matter, but I like to keep things color-coded. Place the greater than and regex components near your reactor, and configure the greater than component to produce an output signal of 100 and a false output signal of 0. The regex component should be configured to produce an output of 100, a false output of 0, and an expression that looks something like this. The regex component returns its true output only when an input string satisfies its search expression. In this case, the search expression is a 1 to 4 digit number that starts with the numbers 1, 2, 3, or 4. In our application, we're using this to return a true output of 100 only when the temperature value from 1 to 4,000 is detected. Any values over 4,000 return an output of 0. In other words, this single component is all that's necessary to maintain a reactor temperature of 4,000 degrees or less. Once these components are installed and configured, all that's left is the wiring. Start by wiring the temperature out signal from the reactor to the input port of the regex component. Then wire the power out signal from the reactor to the second input of the greater than component. Wire the load out signal from the reactor to the first input of the greater than component, and the output of the greater than component to the set turbine output port of the reactor. Then connect the output port from the regex component to the set fission rate port on the reactor, and you should be done. I was shocked myself. However, I've come to realize that this is far superior, easier to install, and requires very little materials. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing, give it a thumbs up, and turn on notifications so you'll see my future content. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy diving.